The world's largest Bitcoin conference kicks off today, and President Trump will be a speaker at the event. Joining me now, Pomp Investments, Anthony Pompliano. And first and foremost, my man, you're not going to be there.
I'm not going this year. First time in many, many years, I'm not going to be there.
I got two words for you. Wally Pipp. You know Wally Pipp?
Yes.
All right, so Wally Pipp says, I got a headache. I don't want to play today. The coach says, all right, get this kid in, Lou Gehrig. Come on in there. You're one of the top apostles for Bitcoin, right? Yeah, people love you everywhere you go. I've seen you at conferences. So, I mean, this is going to be a biggie.
It's going to be a huge year. I mean, look, former President Trump is speaking. Rumors are that he is going to call for a national strategic reserve of Bitcoin for the United States. And if you just think about this, historically, we have seen very small countries. They've done mining. They've bought some Bitcoin in El Salvador's case, et cetera. You have a Malay down in Argentina who's been very sympathetic to Bitcoin. But for a developed nation like the United States to take a step closer to embracing something like Bitcoin, not necessarily to try to replace the dollar, but simply to say, hey, we think that this is an important asset. It's a scarce asset, and we should go put it on our balance sheet. That would be a massive historical moment.
I was in a plane. Well, I was waiting for a plane Saturday to go out to Salt Lake City, and this kid stopped me. I wish I remembered his name. He was so beautiful. He was saying, listen, I grew up in New York. I live out in Salt Lake City. I was home for 10 days. Me and my father watched the show every single day. Tell me what you think of Bitcoin because you seem favorable to it on your show. And he said it was, he used a term I hadn't heard yet. It's American made. He said it's American made. We should be investing in it, and it should play a bigger role in our country.
One of the things that I continue to say is it's like we took the U.S. Constitution and we wrote it into code. You know, one of the interesting things about the United States, so we have checks and balances. We kind of have the three branches of government, and we really try to focus that no one person or organization gets too much power in the government and can kind of do things unilaterally. Bitcoin is the exact same way. There are people who run nodes, there are people who write software, and there are the miners. There's kind of the three branches of Bitcoin. And so what ends up happening is no one that's an individual or an organization has too much power or control. And so the same way that the U.S. government has really kind of shepherded democracy and capitalism, Bitcoin has the same exact thing in a digital world in code. And so what people really are being attracted to in a weird way is it's taking all the great things that have made America in such a strong position, and we've now put it on a blockchain and we've exported it internationally. And that's where you're seeing hundreds of millions of people say, hey, wait a second, I can get digital property rights. I can get all these same American ethos now in a digital world. I'm interested in that. And that's why we continue to see adoption of a scarce asset and the price continues to go up.
And it's also amazing that younger Americans, for the most part, are getting this. They get it. They've had their epiphany about this. I think maybe that's why there was some scuttlebutt about whether VP Harris would show up at this conference as well in an effort to say, hey, me too. But for anyone who's in office in the White House, they really have to believe in this, right? I mean, you can't be half-assed about this. It feels like Trump really has bought into it.
Look, I think that every person goes through the same journey. You hear about it and you dismiss it. Then you hear about it and you say, is that really going to work, right? You hear about it and then all of a sudden it goes down to 80% and you walk away. And eventually you come back around, you learn about it and you become more sympathetic and you embrace it. I think that what we watched with Trump is no different than my journey or anybody else's journey is they dismiss it, then they kind of fight it, and then eventually they embrace it. I do actually believe that Democrats are going to do the same thing. Just right now, they're kind of in the dismissive/fighting stage, and eventually they too will embrace it. If they don't, I do think there will be a reckoning politically.
It does feel, though, that there's, I won't call it the invisible hand, but there's some sort of large entity out there, an establishment, monetary establishment entity that cannot let this succeed. And they have influence over politics. We know some Wall Street firms are adopting it, and of course we've seen a big swoon, the big craze with the ETFs, but it still feels like there's pushback from very powerful people.
The blockchain technology behind Bitcoin is actually one of the most important things to the continued dominance of dollars globally. What I mean by that is stable coins are probably the second biggest product market fit in all of crypto. So stable coins now are the 15th or 16th largest collective holder of U.S. treasuries. We are a net new buyer of those treasuries, really important for national debt and for the United States. But on top of that, we're continuing to see global adoption of stablecoin transaction volume go up, meaning that people want dollars. And if they can get them in some format, they want dollars. And so that stablecoin is actually making the dollar more popular globally, and it's driving adoption in a way that just can't be done without these digital rails. And so I do think that the government, although they say, hey, what is this Bitcoin thing? They're going to eventually realize that this technology is essential to continue the dollar dominance globally.